Trump called the recognition of Crimea as Russian, not even a point of discussion, and lashed out at Zelensky for rejecting it. Now, how does this shape the U.S. position on the Russia-Ukraine war?
Good morning to you and to your guest. Unfortunately, as we talked in the past, that the President Trump is not a peacemaker. A peacemaker does not favor one side against the others, does not pressure one side to give up territory, and he's not aware of the Ukrainian constitution. President Zelensky cannot cede any feet from Ukrainian territory to Russia. Secondly, we cannot reward the aggressor and be against the victim. Secondly, I think according to the Ukrainian constitution, you need a referendum in order to cede a portion of the country. It's not going to happen. And I feel sorry for President Zelensky because he's not respected by neither by President Trump nor by President Putin. So we have a problem here. And as I said, our president, good president, unfortunately, in Washington now, he has been a bully. You cannot be a bully to bring peace. A peacemaker should be fair, should be neutral. And President Trump is neither. And here is the problem. And unfortunately, the war will continue as long as European keep sending arms to Ukraine, and Russia will not stop attacking Ukraine, and it may take more territory in the future.
Right, Mr. Qnews, the Ukrainian president has called any recognition of Crimea as Russian unconstitutional, rather constitutional impossibility. What domestic and legal constraints prevent Kiev from comprising on Crimea regardless of the U.S. pressure?
Greetings to studio guests and all audience. First of all, it's a big mistake to say that it's the main problem President Zelensky. President Zelensky expressed the opinion of vast majority of Ukrainian people. Ukrainian people against of sacrificing by our territory. I absolutely agree with guests from the United States that we could not say that we can sacrifice by the victim, saying that, okay, that happened what happened, so let's start everything from with a new page. It's impossible because Russia started aggression. Russia in 2014 started the war, and when actually Russia controlled Crimea, because we understand that since 2014 till 2022, Russia has a control over Crimea. Yes, it was not recognized, but it was under their control. But it's not stop Russia to widen their territory. It means that if we now recognize Crimea as a part of Russia, it will be not the end of the story. It will be only start of the count till the next war, because Russia don't plan to stop its war. Russia plan to increase its production of weapon, and of course to actually next war can happen in the nearest future. It means several years or even less than several years, because different focus say about that. So that's why now Ukraine, as we stated from the beginning, we are not ready to recognize any part of Ukraine annexed by Russia. We are not ready to say that the aggressor receive a price of that recognition, because it means that every country in the world can start aggression, and be sure that after some period of time, whole world said, okay, no problem, recognize that it's your territory. It will be big motivation to every country in this world to start aggression against other countries. So I think that the world that was created after the Second World War on the principles of territorial integrity of the countries actually should defend this principle, and we should not violate it. Unfortunately, Russia decided to violate these rules, and any crime committed by any country should receive a punishment. The attempt to recognize Crimea as Russia means that this Russian crime will be avoid of punishment. So everyone say, okay, let's forget about this crime. It will be not correct for the future of our world. That's why Ukraine say, no, we are not ready for that. Furthermore, we are understanding that Russia don't need some part of Ukraine. Russia need whole Ukraine. And the fact that they control Crimea from 2014 till 2022 doesn't stop it from attack to whole Ukraine. They failed at capturing whole Ukraine. They succeed only in south part of Ukraine and some part of Donbass. That's why they said, let's recognize this part that we control as our country. Let's give a prize to aggressor, actually. And after that, there will be peace. But as 2014 and Minsk agreement demonstrated, that was not peace. That was only pause till next war. So now it's pause. Thank you.
You raised a very important point, which is the 2014 agreement. And there was kind of reciprocal terms that were put there. We'll get back to this point, Mr. Yus, but let me go to Mr. Francis. And Mr. Francis, Vice President J.D. Vance warned Ukraine that Washington would walk away if the peace plan isn't accepted. Do you think the U.S. might abandon its long-held commitments to Ukraine and also Trump's promise to end the war in this second term?
Yes, President Trump, during his presidential campaign, promised to solve it in 24 hours. It has been a few months now, and he did not succeed because he's taking sides. He's favoring the aggressor against the victim. And by favoring the aggressor, you cannot bring peace. And the victims here are the Ukrainian peoples who have been killed by Russia. And at the same time, there are Russians who have been killed. War is not good, as we all know. And it's affecting the world community because it's getting too expensive to go to a store anywhere in Europe. So peace is the only solution. But we need a peacemaker. And Trump cannot be a peacemaker. His vice president is speaking his boss's language. He cannot threaten to leave because they need the natural resources of the Ukraine. Here they see money, big money will be getting out of the Ukraine, and I'm against it because the natural resources of the Ukraine belong to the Ukrainian people, and the money is needed later on to rebuild Ukraine. And this is unacceptable and unethical. But unfortunately, I think President Zelensky promised President Trump that he will allow him or allow American companies to come to the Ukraine and maybe get the natural resources out of the Ukraine. And this is, it should be illegal. And as your guest said, yes, unfortunately, there is no justice in this world. Russia should be punished because Russia is the aggressor. As in Gaza, Israel should be punished. But unfortunately, United Nations is unable to enforce international laws, and no one is there to enforce it. And unfortunately, really, you see people getting killed because the greed of the Soviet Union. And as your guest said, yes, nobody could stop Putin. After the Ukraine, where is he going to go? He has a dream to revive the Soviet Union. This one will never succeed because I don't think the Soviet Union to be reborn again. As you have the Israeli have their big dream, Greater Israel, Erdogan in Turkey wants to revive the Ottoman Empire. We have to be real here. We have to work together. The world community is only one community. We cannot keep killing each other because of a piece of land. Our children are starved to death, and no one is hearing their cries. The world had closed its ears and its eyes to the suffering of the people in the Ukraine, in Russia, in Gaza, in Sudan, and in Syria and Lebanon. Enough is enough. But unfortunately, we don't have a leader, an international leader that could be a peacemaker to bring peace. In Europe, we have no one, unfortunately, strong enough and smart enough to bring both sides together. In order to bring both sides, you cannot favor one against the other. Come to the table and everything should be negotiated. But to give the Crimea or other states to the Russians for its invasion as a reward, it's unacceptable. And I don't think there'll be peace in that part of the world if Russia continue to occupy the Ukraine, the Crimea and other states.